Nico Rosberg didn't hold back, and what he said about Lewis Hamilton wasn't just criticism, it was a revelation that sent a jolt through the entire Formula One world. Because after Hamilton's painful qualifying session in Hungary, Rosberg compared his driving to a master pianist fumbling the keys, a brutal image that cut deeper than most expected. And while many brushed it off as another sharp comment from a former teammate, others felt the weight behind those words as media headlines exploded. Fans flooded social media with questions, and analysts scrambled to understand whether this was just a one-off failure or the exposure of a much bigger issue. Because what if Rosberg didn't just insult Hamilton? What if he actually uncovered the real reason behind the champion's ongoing struggles at Ferrari? Because this wasn't just a slow lap or a minor setup issue. This looked like a top-tier driver completely out of sync with the car beneath him, a kind of fundamental mismatch that can't be fixed with tweaks or simulator hours. And if that's true, then Hungary wasn't the low point, it was the warning shot, the moment that revealed just how fragile this dream move to Ferrari might really be, and why Hamilton, one of the greatest drivers in Formula One history, is suddenly fighting just to stay relevant. And what makes all of this even more concerning is that the problem goes far beyond just lap times or tyre choices, because at the heart of Hamilton's struggles is something much deeper. Something baked into his very driving DNA, because for almost 2 decades, he's mastered a style built on deep trail braking, late corner entries, and aggressive car rotation, a style that helped him win races in the wet, pull off impossible overtakes, and manage tyres better than anyone else on the grid. But now that same style has become a liability inside the Ferrari SF25, a car designed with completely different instincts in mind, one that has an ultra-sensitive rear end, a narrow setup window, and an aerodynamic platform that simply can't handle sudden shifts in load. And every time Hamilton tries to brake deep into a corner like he always has, the rear becomes unstable. The airflow stalls through the diffuser, and the car snaps loose without warning, making the whole experience unpredictable and frustrating. And this is what Rosberg picked up on, something even Ferrari engineers have been quietly acknowledging, that Hamilton's natural way of driving isn't just ineffective in this car, it's actually hurting performance. It's like asking a violinist to play jazz on a broken cello. Nothing connects, nothing flows, and no matter how talented the musician is, the instrument refuses to sing. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. A once unstoppable champion locked in a battle with a machine that was never built for him. And every lap, every corner, every brake zone turns into a fight between instinct and engineering, between habit and hardware. And the more he pushes, the more the SF25 pushes back. And the deeper you look into it, the more clear it becomes that this isn't just a style clash. It's a full-blown technical mismatch, because when Hamilton uses his usual deep trail, braking to control the car into corners, he unknowingly triggers something called an aerodynamic stall, where the airflow that's supposed to pass smoothly under the car and through the diffuser suddenly breaks down. And when that happens, the rear end loses grip instantly, throwing the car off balance and making it nearly impossible to drive with confidence, especially during high-speed entries or mid-speed technical sections where precision is everything. And this is where the Ferrari SF25 shows just how unforgiving it really is, because its rear end was already sensitive to pitch and load changes, and Hamilton's aggressive braking style only makes that sensitivity worse. And although Ferrari's engineers have tried to help by softening the rear suspension, tweaking the rake, and shifting the weight distribution forward, all those changes end up creating new problems, mainly that they throw off Charles Leclerc's side of the garage, because his style is the complete opposite. He brakes earlier, does it in a straight line, keeps steering inputs gentle, and relies on the car's natural balance to carry him through the corner. And the telemetry shows the difference clearly, with Hamilton's data full of sharp traces and sudden movements, while Leclerc's is clean, smooth, and predictable. And this means the team is stuck in a set-up tug-of-war, where every fix for Hamilton is a setback for Leclerc, and every solution for one driver becomes a problem for the other. And that's the core of Ferrari's engineering nightmare right now. 2 elite drivers with completely different needs trying to share one car that refuses to fully suit either of them. And now, it's no longer just about hardware and setup sheets. It's become something deeper, something almost philosophical, because inside the Ferrari garage, the team is facing a choice that's splitting its direction in 2. Either double down on the car that suits Charles Leclerc's calm and calculated approach, or take a risk and start reshaping it to better fit Hamilton's aggressive instincts. But the truth is, they can't do both without weakening the whole package. And that's where the tension starts to build, because every adjustment made to help Hamilton ends up taking performance away from Leclerc. And while the younger driver keeps adapting quietly, delivering results without drama, Hamilton's side of the garage is getting quieter in a very different way. During debriefs, he's not his usual vocal self, often seen just staring at the telemetry screens, trying to find answers that never seem to come. And in the media pen, he's more subdued than ever. Not angry, not explosive, just distant. And people are starting to notice because this isn't the Hamilton we've known for 17 years, the fighter, the motivator, the leader. Instead, it's a version of him that feels stuck, like he's trapped in a system that no longer speaks his language. And while Ferrari insists everything is fine, the emotional weight behind the scenes is growing heavier with every race weekend, creating a pressure that no setup change can fix. And if the emotional tension inside the garage wasn't enough, the numbers on paper are starting to tell an even harsher truth, because halfway through the 2025 season, Lewis Hamilton sits 7th in the Drivers' Championship, trailing Lando Norris by more than 100 points and sitting nearly 50 points behind his own teammate, Charles Leclerc, a gap that's hard to ignore when both drivers are in the same machinery. And it gets worse when you look at the bigger picture, because Ferrari as a team has now slipped to 3rd in the constructors' standings, falling further behind with every weekend that goes wrong. And while Leclerc keeps scoring consistently, Hamilton's average points per race since the summer break has dropped to just over 4, compared to Oscar Piastri's 8, showing just how far behind he's fallen in the performance race. And Hungary might have been the most painful chapter yet, with a spin in Q2 and a finish outside the points in 12th place, a result that would be shocking for a rookie, let alone a 7-time world champion. And these aren't just stats, they're signals, clear and cold reminders that in Formula One, legacy means nothing if you can't deliver. And right now, the numbers are starting to bury the story Ferrari hoped to tell. And when you take a step back, it starts to feel like we've seen this story before, because Ferrari has a long, painful history of drawing in the biggest names in Formula One, only to break them down from the inside. Back in 2010, it was Fernando Alonso who arrived as the heir to Schumacher's legacy, but ended up stuck in years of internal politics, strategy errors, and near misses that never turned into titles. Then came Sebastian Vettel, a 4-time world champion from Red Bull, full of belief and ambition. But after 5 seasons at Maranello, he left with nothing but frustration and an exit that felt more like a whisper than a farewell. And now, here we are again, with Lewis Hamilton, 40 years old, stepping into Ferrari not for a rebuild, but for one last shot at glory. A final chapter that was supposed to be written in bold letters, and yet it's starting to feel like déjà vu, because once again, we're watching a legend get lost in the red machine. And the harsh truth is that Ferrari has always been better at attracting greatness than adapting to it. The team carries the weight of history, but often struggles to bend with the times. And as one insider quietly put it, this wasn't supposed to be a 5-year project. It was meant to be a storybook ending. But now it's starting to look like the same old script, just with a different name on the cover. And now the situation is reaching a point where the question is no longer what's wrong. It's what happens next, because at this stage of the season, neither side has the time or flexibility to start over. Hamilton can't just learn a new driving style overnight, not when his muscle memory has been shaped over more than 20 years at the highest level. And Ferrari can't rebuild the SF25 around him either. It's simply too late in the year, so the reality is brutally simple. Either he adapts or he fades, and that's the kind of pressure that no simulator can prepare you for. Because even when Michael Schumacher made his comeback with Mercedes, he had a technical foundation that aligned with his strengths. There was at least some level of cohesion between man and machine. But here, Hamilton is driving a car that rejects his instincts and punishes his habits. And that's not just frustrating, it's dangerous for his legacy. Because this isn't about whether he's still fast, the telemetry says he is. The problem is that no one can see it when the car won't let it shine. And as one observer put it perfectly, he's not just battling the car, he's disappearing within it. And for someone who's built a career on being seen, being felt, and being feared, that kind of silence can do more damage than any mechanical failure ever could. And with all of this building race after race, Everything now points to one place: Monza, the heart of Ferrari's legacy, and the stage that could either mark a turning point or confirm a collapse. Because the next 3 races are absolutely critical, not just for points, but for direction. And Hamilton doesn't need a miracle. He doesn't need a win or a pole position. He just needs one clean weekend, one top 5 finish, one signal that the tide can still turn, because even the smallest spark could shift the momentum. But if it doesn't come soon, the window may close for good. And for Ferrari, this is no longer about public support or hopeful soundbites. It's about action. Because if they want this partnership to work, they have to make real moves, not just with setups, but with intent. And for Hamilton, the pressure is heavier than ever, because Formula One doesn't wait for legends to find their footing, and no matter how much history he carries, the sport only cares about what happens next. So the question now is simple. Can Monza be the redemption arc everyone hoped for when he signed that deal? Or will it become the loudest silence of all? Because in a place where the Tifosi roar louder than anywhere else, silence would say everything. And if things don't change soon, this dream comeback could end not in flames, but in fading echoes.